Welcome back to our Dottie Does the North Island trip. We left Stratford just as the rain started. Arriving in Hawera, we parked up ready for 2 days of wind and rain. We managed a couple of walks around Hawera between showers. We found the impressive water tower in the middle of town, a house and garden which brought much colour to the gloomy weather. And the weather had brought snow to Mount Taranaki. Leaving Hawera, we travelled onward to Whanganui. On our way, we decided to stop at a place called Bushy Park Sanctuary. So this is the very hard to photograph saddleback. And the very hard to photograph stitchbird or hihi. Bushy Park started out as part of the vast forest that ran from the sea to the volcanoes. In the 1800s, the Moore family purchased the land and set up for farming, but they retained this island forest near the homestead. In the 1960s I should say, the Moore family bequeathed the island forest, homestead and outbuildings to the Royal Forest and Bird Protection Society. Today, the Tarapuruhi Bushy Park Trust and Forest and Bird collaborate to manage the park for future generations. Bushy Park is known for its abundant bird life, especially, so we found, the North Island robin or totowai, who we encountered at the foot of Ratanui. Then we came to Ratanui, a northern rata estimated at about 1,000 years old. It is 43 metres high and has an estimated girth of 11 metres. It starts life as an epiphyte high up in a host tree. Over centuries, it sends down roots that girdle the host, eventually forming a massive hollow pseudo-trunk around the tree. After our explore of the beautiful reserve, we had a picnic lunch at Bushy Park Homestead. And then it was on to Ototoka Beach Cove for some fossiling. While we stayed in Whanganui, we parked up at the Whanganui East Club, right beside the not very busy train track. found Fred Flintstone and Barney Rubble still hanging at the park like they were 55 years ago when I was a nipper. We had a quick stop at Kaiwi Beach, but found it was very busy, so it was on to Basin Botanic Gardens for another picnic lunch and some orchid spotting. Basin Botanic Gardens started as a farm owned by Stanley and Blanche Basin. They farmed the 25 hectares of property and developed an extensive garden which included over 140 camellia specimens, 500 roses and plants from all corners of the earth. Their dream was to develop the land into a botanical reserve, so in 1966 the farm was offered to the Whanganui Council for creation of the botanic gardens that you see today. Something to be proud of, Whanganui. We left Whanganui heading for the east coast. At that point we had to go over the Saddle Road as the new road wasn't open, and so we went through the Te Apiti Wind Farm. This farm is owned by Meridian Energy and has 55 wind turbines capable of generating 90.75 megawatts of power. Each turbine sits on a 70-metre tall tower and has blades that are 35 metres in length. We were now east of the Tararua and Ruahine ranges and heading for Mangatanoka, the home of the Tui Brewery. Henry Wagstaff opened Tui Breweries in 1889 after being attracted by the clear and crystal waters of the Mangatanoka River. He sold the brewery to Henry Cohen in 1903, and this Henry was the one who developed the East India Pale Ale that we know today. Beer is no longer made at the brewery, but it is a lovely bar and restaurant and function spot. Our Freedom campsite for the night was a short walk from the Tui Brewery and alongside the Mangatanoka River. We continued on the next day, a Thursday, to Masterton, parking up initially at the Masterton Club, but changed our minds when we heard about the Thursday night food market. So we went to the NZMCA camp instead. Dottie and Dolly got to watch a bit of nighttime rugby. We left Dottie behind and drove out to Castle Point. Being sailors, Paul and I are quite fascinated by lighthouses. Castle Point Lighthouse is the North Island's tallest lighthouse and stands 52 metres above sea level. It is one of only two left in New Zealand that are still lit by the original rotating Fresnel lenses. It was built in 1913 and was originally lit by an oil lamp. It sends out a triple flash every 45 seconds and can be seen for 35 kilometres. The light was fully automated in 1988. And of course we found some fossils. then it was chips at the beach before we went back to Masterton and to Dottie. Next it was off down through the Wairarapa region past Martinborough. This is a well-known wine growing area and playground for people from Wellington. As we got closer to Cape Palliser, the road got a little bit more rumpty.
Slip risk, I'd say.
We arrived in the small township of Ngawi. We found an amazing site to camp overlooking Cook Strait. Such a beautiful spot. We went for a bit of a walk down from where we parked the caravan, and as I was walking along I was barked at by a seal because I got a little bit too close. He was hiding in a crevice in the rocks and I didn't see him. It certainly gave me a big fright. Sunset on our first night was amazing. The birds, the waves, the colours in the sky, and you can see the South Island. The next morning we left Dottie enjoying the beach and drove over the rumpty gravel road towards Cape Palliser Lighthouse. Cape Palliser has the largest fur seal colony on the North Island. We found them basking in the sunshine, with some of the pups still feeding from their mums. Obviously there's lots of babies. Palliser Lighthouse was built in 1897. It is the other lighthouse that still uses its original Fresnel lens, like Castle Point Light. It originally had an oil lamp, but is now fully automated. The light stands 78 metres above sea level and has a light flash character of 2 white flashes every 20 seconds. To reach the lighthouse, you have to climb 258 stairs. Imagine doing that twice a day to light and douse the lamp, as the old timekeepers had to do.
This is Paul getting power. I don't think he's willing to put his hands in the water because it's a bit cool.
We spent 2 nights at Ngawi, and it was such a beautiful spot. We'll definitely be going back again. The next morning saw us leaving Ngawi, a popular fishing spot for paua, crayfish and cod. Apparently, Ngawi has more bulldozers per capita than anywhere else in New Zealand. They are used to launch the fishing boats in and out of the sea, as there's no boat ramp in Ngawi. The next stop was the Pinnacles, a gravel conglomerate formation that has been eroded by water and wind over millions of years. The pillars are created when a more solid cement-like silt cap protects some areas from erosion. This area was used in the movie The Lord of the Rings: Return of the King as the Paths of the Dead. Unfortunately, the track had been washed out by recent rains and Paul was not able to get to the foot of the pinnacles, but he got close enough for a photo. And also, we found more fossils. Now that we'd reached the southern tip of this North Island, it was time for us to head north again. So we were off to Lake Wairarapa near Featherston for the night. So Lake Wairarapa covers an area of about 78 square kilometres and at its deepest is only 2.5 metres deep. It is the third largest lake in the North Island. we left Lake Wairarapa and headed over the Remataka Hill towards Otaki. Otaki has a lovely estuary walk, and there's lots of swans swimming in the little creeks that go down to the sea. At this point we were ready to start heading home, so we left Otaki and headed to Martin. Neither of us had been to Martin before, so we went and stopped at the NZMCA car park in the middle of town. Our next stop was Raitahi, where we spent the night behind the Working Men's Club. We went in for dinner and we had an amazing meal for a really good price. So join us next time as we spot highly decorated train carriages, bubbling mud, lakes, and stunning bush. Epic panoramas. And Paul starts off on the Tongariro Alpine Crossing. Please like and subscribe if you'd like to see more of these videos.